Welcome to Bill. I'm Kevin Kenny. We have getting voices from above here. We're very live here in New York City. Our guest today is getting rave reviews for their new album. They've got a sold-out show at Irving Plaza here in New York City tonight, and their name are the Parcels. Please, let's give a warm welcome to the band. We just watched the music video for With or Without. That is like a feature film, guys.
You could have picked any of them, but you picked that one.
That is, how did that come about? I mean, that is a big budget production.
Yeah,
Miller helped out.
yeah, we met Miller at the Cannes Film Festival, and she was a big fan of the band, and we just wanted to collaborate on someone on our next video with like a horror element, and she just fit perfectly.
I see that, and I think film background. Did any of you study film in school?
No.
No, not at all. Really?
No.
What were you guys doing at Cannes? Just hanging out?
We
were playing a show.
there.
Oh, you're playing a show?
Yeah.
It's a heck of a gig. Yeah. What's it like playing like a film festival as opposed to being on tour?
It's pretty weird. Yeah, they're not really there to see music, so it was more of a party.
Lots of celebs walking around.
Who's the coolest celeb you met?
Miller,
for sure, yeah.
She was the only one in the crowd that we enjoyed and was kind of into it. You know?
She was into the music?
Yeah.
Everybody was just still, and Miller was just losing her shit.
That is awesome. Now, how soon after you meet her do you guys start talking about working together? Was it like that night?
The next
kind
day.
of that night.
Really?
Yeah.
So who had the idea? She wanted to work with you guys, and then or you guys had this idea for a video, and she was the perfect person for it.
We were kind of like bonding over horror movies when we were hanging out, and we already had this idea for like a slasher music video, and then she kind of got on board.
Well, is there anything to be said about the contrast between it's a pretty happy sounding song. It's sort of a bright sounding song, and then the visuals are quite gruesome at times. Is there anything to be said about that artistically?
That was, like, I guess, part of the concept. It always seemed a little bit out of place for me until just then when we were watching it. I was like, my God, this is intense.
Although everybody started laughing at one point, we were hearing just before. Maybe it works in other ways too.
Well, it's funny. I think the idea of contrast is something that is a theme with the band. I was reading on your Spotify bio that you are described as a group that battles between maybe traditional sensibilities and then modern mentalities. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Yeah. What's the best of both of those worlds? What do you like about the traditional sensibilities of music?
A lot of things. We listen to a lot of classic music, and we love the format of a classic record. That's a piece, something that you can kind of take in, and also just so many elements of classic music.
Right on. We had a band from the UK on earlier this morning named Yumi at 6, and they were talking about how just the speed of the music industry today, and how you seemingly have to put out so much music to remain relevant. And I asked them, well, then how do you make things special? Because you talk about the format of the classic record and just this body of work you can sit with for many, many years. How do you guys make your music still feel special?
By not listening to anybody else, I guess. Just trying to keep internal with what we want and why we play music in the first place,
Right. Not that I don't think you guys sound like any one classic group, and I actually really enjoy that about your music. I give a band like Greta Van Fleet a lot of crap because I think they sound, they harken back to a time, but I think they do it so on the nose that it borders on, tribute-esque. You guys more, I think it's a sensibility, like we said before, as opposed to an emulation of any one particular band.
Yeah.
But how does a group of young 20-something-year-old guys sound like this?
I think, as opposed to just taking influences and diving into them, we kind of just work song by song, and which they're laughing at because it's a phrase we use a lot.
Yeah.
And
It's not funny for anyone else.
Well, why is it almost a mantra? Did you guys sort of
It's
distracted?
become a mantra.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe why that's funny.
No, don't worry about
it.
it.
No, it's not worth it. But we dive into different influences for each song and take what we like from each thing, but try not to get caught in them.
Well, I mean, does this go back even further, though, sonically, to maybe what was being played in your households growing up?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think you always go back to the music that you listened to when you were a kid. It's the times that they're stuck in your head.
How did you guys all meet? Did you grow up together?
Yeah.
Yeah. High school.
High school.
High school.
Right on. And did you guys all play music in high school?
We did. We were trying to get out of like the sport classes. We used to congregate at the music room.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you doing your own thing like in a band, or were you doing like traditional like school band?
No, just
We
jamming.
did our own band. We
Really?
were very cooperative with the school band.
No, we got a few detentions actually for being in the music room.
When you weren't supposed to be,
Yeah.
probably, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's so funny. So you had that passion early on. Now Australia, right?
Yeah.
But now you live in Berlin.
Mhm.
Okay. It's funny. You talk about you guys are really passionate about this idea of making meaningful pop music. What is meaningful pop music?
Don't know really.
Well, it's got to come from a personal view to start off with. It's not trying to make something for somebody else. I think lyrically, for us, it's always coming from ourselves personally. So that's one aspect.
Right. I bring up Australia and Berlin because I think the term pop, it means so many different things for so many different areas or territories, right? I think like especially here in America, a generation grew up on quote unquote bubblegum pop, very disposable pop, arguably, right? The opposite of probably what you guys are after doing. But then you think about you go over to the UK, a genre, a term like Britpop, which you could argue is incredibly meaningful music, right? So what kind of pop music did you guys grow up on?
I guess the pop we're referring to is like the classic idea of it. Like, it appeals to a huge amount of people, but it's not necessarily disposable.
It's more of just an emotional kind of universality. Is that a word?
Yeah. Universe?
Sounded good.
Universality.
Oh, universality.
An
It is now.
emotional universalness.
I think we were trying to escape pop music when we were growing up a little bit, but I think you always find yourself then like diving it too deep into one genre.
Yeah.
And when you just put pop on it, you have the freedom to kind of explore a lot of different genres, I guess.
Yeah,
That's the cool thing about today. We're actually got more options in a way
Yeah.
of what we can do.
What did you guys sound like in that school band room?
Awful.
Sloppy.
super
Not
lewd.
tight at all.
No.
We're honing our skills.
Just practicing.
Well, what I'm trying to get at it here is it sounds like maybe you didn't have any pop sensibility, then you sort of resented. You wanted to escape from pop. So
Yeah.
so was it a bit heavier, the sound in high school?
We had like phases. We went from like a bit of a psychedelic rock phase, didn't last long. There was like a
About a
folk
month.
phase, which lasted a bit longer.
Still around. I love
Still around, yeah. I don't know, there was a metal phase for Jules.
I was a full metal kid with very long hair.
When you say metal, what do you mean? Because that's a big genre.
Like 80s metal, like Megadeth, Pantera.
Really?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
full on.
That's full on, man.
Full on.
It's hardcore.
It's metal.
We talked we talked about. Well, I mean, then you got new metal, and there's stages of it, but
Oh yeah.
Norwegian black metal.
yeah. Oh, it's great. I mean, there's actually a great documentary all about metal. We don't have to get into it now, but you talked a lot about the traditional aspects of the band, but then there's also, I'm sure, things you like about modern music. What do you enjoy about the modern climate of music?
I think we love the minimalism of the modern pop sound at the moment. Something can be a hit with just like a single kick drum and a hi-hat and like this huge space in the recording.
Yeah.
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 That Billie Eilish, that last single from hers, there's nothing in there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Or the Lana Del Rey new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
Amazing.
like that feels like an old school ballad. It's really cool that that's so successful.
Wait, are you talking about Lana or Billy?
Lana.
Lana. Yeah. So
She's great.
big fan. You guys have actually collaborated with Daft Punk on Overnight, right?
Mhm.
They co-wrote that song.
Yeah. We all were in the studio together in Paris. It was an amazing experience.
Do they take off their masks when they write songs?
The-
Nah, they wear it the whole time.
Yeah.
You heard it here, folks.
The aircon is like blasting just to have them comfortable. We had to
Two little straws.
They're not used to this planet.
It's super inconvenient, but they just insist.
What are they like as co-writes though? Because I think there's such an image around them for the casual music fan. You think of them as a sort of type of way. You might not even think of them as songwriters actually, if you just know them for some of their biggest radio hits. What were they like as collaborators?
The best.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're incredibly keen for us to like be as true to ourselves as possible, and for us to come with like everything that was genuine about what we wanted to do, and then kind of hone that rather than take over our sound.
I feel like two things can happen in situations like that. You guys, as a younger band, you can get intimidated, or you can sort of feel yourself rise to the occasion. Of course, the song came out amazing, so the song rose to the occasion. But what was the initial reaction of just being in the studio with a couple guys that, of course, you must have grown up admiring, right?
Unintimidating, surprisingly unintimidating. They made it really relaxed, and just it was like they weren't the two people that they were. They just were two friends, and we were just writing music together in a real kind of natural environment. Though inside we were freaking out, but they made it so seamless and so enjoyable for us.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You mentioned Billie Eilish before. I don't think people would listen to your music and think immediately of a Billie Eilish. Who is what's a genre or maybe even a song or artist that you have drawn inspiration from that we'd be surprised to hear about?
In the album, there's a lot of exotica influence, which was something that we kind of discovered just before the album. 60s kind of sound, the wall of sound like Phil Spector.
Yeah.
But that kind of derived from more exotica. So yeah.
Mix that in with a bit of Dre. And you're there.
Dre.
You got Parcels.
That's it.
Yeah.
Simple formula.
I said at the top, you guys are from Australia, you live in Berlin now. Which territory do you think shapes your sound more? Are you a group that sort of draws from the place around you, the culture around you, the city, or would you say your sound's independent of that?
A little bit. When we first moved to Berlin, we first discovered like good electro from the nightclubs, and that really, we drew inspiration from that hugely.
I think we're definitely more European now than Australian.
Right.
I think when we go back to Australia, we always feel like a little bit out of place.
How does Australia receive you?
Surprisingly well.
They're into
Yeah.
it now, but I think
They,
it took a while.
they mostly listen to like surf rock right now.
Right.
And then we come back every year and they still buy tickets to our shows.
Are they sort of like a home market that would champion you for going somewhere else, or is it almost like
There's a little bit of pride there.
Yeah.
I think that they're
I
a
think there's little
nationalistic
bit
thing.
I think there's a little bit of spite there as well.
I was gonna say, right? Because it's a
Yeah.
double-edged sword.
Yeah.
What do you
Like,
mean?
keep it like I don't know. In Australia, they love Australian bands, And
Right.
And like we've been in Europe for the
Well, because
entire
we've
time.
essentially rejected them in a way.
Yeah.
So they,
It's just
the
tricky.
country that is.
And especially as you
Yeah.
guys get bigger and bigger, like you guys are getting, you know what I mean? It's kind of like it could go both ways.
There's also we come from a small town, and so when the fact that we're in Europe, it's like we've made it. The fact that we're over there, it's
Yeah,
like,
just like traveling overseas is a
That's
big
it.
deal.
I remember, coming back to Australia the first year, he was like, your band's really big now. And I was like, no, we just live in Europe. Like, it's not the same.
Well, I mean, you guys are, you're not just big for the hometown you guys come from. You have a sold-out show tonight at Irving Plaza, which deserves a round of applause because the last time you were in New York, you were saying, you played Bowery Ballroom, and it's a fine and dandy venue, but it's certainly no Irving Plaza.
oh come on,
It's a much. No, I'm just
More than
saying, in
fine
terms
and
of, I
dandy.
mean, you want to be at
I
Irving.
wasn't like the Bowery Ballroom.
No. Bowery, if you're watching. No, but I mean, Irving, that's a pretty big room you guys are playing tonight, and you sold it out. And actually, what's cool is Govball is presenting the show, and I'm assuming that's in conjunction with your Govball appearance this year. You're playing Govball and you're playing Coachella. What's the festival resume look like? Are these going to be the first times you're at these festivals? Have you played them before?
Yeah.
first time.
We've only
First
played,
time.
it's going to be like our second and third US festivals, I think. It's pretty fresh.
Right on.
Yeah.
Do you notice a big difference? It's a question you probably get a lot, but between I feel like the Europe sort of started the festivals, or at least the modern adaptation of what we try to accomplish here in America.
Okay.
But how do the crowds compare between
We
festivals
play-
over there and festivals
play-
here?
Sorry.
Sorry, I'm talking over you. My bad,
I
dude.
didn't finish.
Can't wait to talk
That's
about
on
this
me.
stuff.
Stuff to say.
Don't drag it on, dude. We played.
we played.
we played
um,
Shaky Knees Festival in Atlanta, and after the show, we were just like walking around seeing other music, and like so many people came up and were like so appreciative and really like. I feel like they were all going out and seeing people that they'd never heard of, like us.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Yeah, I'd never heard of you guys." But
Positive
like
crowd.
They have like a nice American crowds generally are kind of in between for me Australian crowds who are kind of over the top in their enthusiasm and like wildness, and then like a French or kind of softer European crowd who just kind of stand and listen. But I think American crowds they've got that down where they really have high energy, but they're listening and they're appreciating in a nice way.
Have you found America to be more accepting of you guys than maybe some other markets?
I mean, surprising for how little we've come. Yeah.
Yeah.
We seem to have been receptive, yeah.
What is it about the music that you think people are responding to? Not that you have to know, but
I don't know, man.
Typically in America or generally.
no. I mean, you guys are having success all over the world, so why not make it the world?
I think people can feel that we're having fun with it, both in the recordings and especially on stage. And then also when you kind of go into the lyrics, it's not just fun. So I think
Right.
that's what people connect with.
Definitely. I wanted to ask you about the aesthetic, not just here, but there's also some single artwork, this whole aviation idea. Where's that come from?
Comes from my sister.
Is that her plane?
No, yeah, it's
Very
our
rich.
plane.
Yeah. The family plane.
the Crumlin plane.
that's my handbag.
Yeah.
No, it's. And we just, I don't know, it was her representation after listening to the album, and I think it's a part of our journey in a way, the fact that we're flying.
Fly a lot.
But also, we just like the aesthetic. It's just the jet set era. I don't know, it was a magical time.
It's when like flying was this luxury, majestic thing you could do.
Yeah.
Do you typically go that route with artwork where you give an artist the music and then they come up with the artwork? I think that's a cool process.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it can happen like that, it's really cool.
It's really interesting.
Right on.
You just have to have a lot of trust
Yeah.
and
Well, hey.
respect for who.
Was she behind the? There's a really great shot that I love of. It's inside an airplane. It's for one of the singles, and there's like a newspaper.
That's actually her hand.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. It's
No,
Jules'
it's not.
sister's hand.
No.
Yeah, you're ruining the whole
Oh,
mystery
right.
here.
Ruining the mystery.
Behind the scenes, it's her hand.
That's her.
It's out now.
But for the public, it's everybody's hand.
Exactly.
It's my hand.
It's not
No,
your
it's
hand.
not your hand.
It's not my
Wrong
hand.
fingernail color.
All right. Well, let's see if it's one of these fans' hands. We got some questions to get to in the studio audience.
All right.
First is going to come from right up front here.
Hey.
Hi.
Howdy.
How's it going?
Good.
I'm such a fan of your music. It's very awesome. So as an aspiring musician myself, I was wondering if you guys can give any advice for getting your music out there and kind of just starting up in general.
When we made our first EP, but this was like before we really started the band, I remember sending it out to a lot of blogs.
We made our own press kit.
Doing our
where we
own
just
press
like
release, like in Australia, as a bunch of ignorant teenagers trying to sound very official, like Parcels is an upcoming
Writing
band, blah blah blah. Sending that out.
I'm not sure if anything came of that. I'm not sure how good that is.
Well,
But
A lot
it
of
got
blogs
blogged,
posted us, yeah.
and that's
And
how we
probably
started
how we
to
got
meet people.
signed.
Yeah.
So make your own press releases.
and the biggest thing would be to practice a lot, because when we moved to
You never
Berlin,
practice, mate. Then you practice.
I never actually come to practice. I just
Practice.
turn up for the shows.
Noah was
It's so
born
good.
ready.
No, because we moved to Berlin and we didn't have any jobs or anything really to do, any apartments even, and we just spent our time practicing and rehearsing every day for a year. Where it got to the point where we didn't know, like, have to ask what time or what we were doing. We just knew that this was the time we were coming in to practice every day, and it really kind of gelled everything.
Okay, cool. Thank you, guys.
No worries.
Thanks.
What's your favorite thing you ever read about the band? Talking about reviews and blogs.
Ever read?
Yeah, is there like a line
Oh.
or a review that
read a
cracks
good
you
one.
Got
up?
one today. You guys, do you wear clothes that people haven't died in?
Do you exclusively wear clothes that people have died in?
Yeah, or something like that. Which
That's
was
a good one.
We really like that. There was also this other great. Oh no, it's too hard to explain. But they just like people using different photos and like labeling them as us. And one Pat was like the guy from Scooby Doo, and I was like Rob Machado, the surfer, and you were that girl from the meme thing. Like people can take you down in the funniest ways, which we really appreciate.
So we like the ones that really rip into us, I think.
yeah, which because we deserve it.
Absolutely.
Let's get to one more final studio audience question. It'll come from back here on the red sofa.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey.
I was wondering what you guys would be doing if you weren't musicians.
Oh, I wonder
Carpentry.
this all the time.
Carpentry.
Toto would be a newsreader.
As you can see.
Reader.
Yeah.
He's too
Look,
nervous on camera.
you're going there right after this, aren't you?
Freeze up on camera. I wouldn't be a newsreader.
If not music.
I always had one plan that I don't know what I would do, honestly.
That's your plan.
Yeah.
Thought out.
If you weren't a musician.
I'd be really confused.
You just see him walking around New York just aimless. Just so not sure where he is.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a really scary thought, actually.
I wanted to play football when I was young, like soccer.
Yeah.
He wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
They said I was too small. No, they didn't. I'm massive.
What has this turned into?
Next question.
In all seriousness, do you think not having a backup plan?
We have no idea, clearly.
But do you think not having a backup plan has sort of led to the success? I think just being all in.
Absolutely.
There's
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah,
like
sure.
we got to get through this, even the hard times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard, like all the time as a musician, especially today, and you just need to listen to yourself. Like that's the only person you have sometimes. So
And
Yeah.
just have sheer commitment.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys very much for stopping by, and best of luck. I would promote this show, but there's no more tickets left. You guys sold out the joint, so congratulations.
There you go.
too bad.
Yeah. But you will be back in town if you're watching us here in New York City. You're going to be doing Gov Ball on what day? Do you know? Because that's a weird. It's like May and June this year. Do you know what date it is?
No.
First weekend in June.
31st.
Oh, it's the 31st.
Wow.
22nd.
You got the date.
22nd. I don't think.
There's
Oh,
12.
it's the second.
What?
I was like, I don't think they're here on the
And it's
22nd.
the second.
June
confirmed.
2nd. It's on the
June
internet,
2nd?
I assure you. One more time for Parcels, everybody.